Yeah, what's good, Joe? Shaman the Bigga P, and just want to break down my quick thoughts on the HBO doubleheader I just finished watching. Um, it was a decent night of boxing. Yes, both fights for the most part did entertain me. And then the face-off between Cotto and Martinez, pretty much capped it off nicely. So let's talk about the first fight. The first fight was Postol versus Aydin. Now, this is pretty much the fight where Aiden is pretty, he's a guy who pretty, he has pretty decent pop, but not really the best boxer. And then Pastol, who is a damn good boxer, but not not having a power. Now if this was a fight that I would expect to actually to go to distance, it's this fight. Um, the first couple of rounds, pretty much it was Aiden just boxing the shit out of, excuse me, it was Pastol boxing the shit out of Aiden. Really mixing up his punches, going to the body, going to the head, and then Aiden, for briefly, had him in trouble by connecting with one huge right hand, and had him in trouble. And then pretty much that was pretty much Aiden's only highlight in the early rounds of the fight. And then pretty much Aiden he was just resort to trying to walk him down, try to throw wild right hands. And then in the process, Postol was just absolutely, he kept the jab in his face, kept on, he smothered him when he got close, went to the body. And because the way he was actually hitting Aiden, it looked like he was actually hitting the heavy bag. And pretty much the only punches, I think, at first I was like, I don't want to say they were pity pats, but it just didn't look like he was putting full power into them, except for the uppercut. And then there was one uppercut, there was another uppercut where he rocked him. Looked at him like, okay, maybe that Pistol has something. Now, as the fight got into the later rounds, there was a moment in there where Aiden again caught lightning, and landed a nice body shot over Pistol that had him pretty much running around the ring trying to actually survive try to survive the round. Which he did. And then after that, and as we got into even the later rounds, like 10, 11, I think pretty much Aiden was pretty much had that look of defeat on his face. He had a point taken away for rabbit punching. And in the 11th round, finally, that Pistol was actually really starting to sit down on his punch. He was starting to throw these ridiculous combinations. And I'm like, wow, I mean, he's really hitting him hard. And then when you heard that in the 11th round, you heard the 10 count clapper, boom, and all of a sudden he just exploded and then capped it off with an absolutely highlight fight night type of knockout, the vicious right uppercut. I mean, that absolutely crumbled, and that was impressive to me because, like I said, Pastol is the light puncher, and he did what people like, fighters like Soto Karass and Robert Guerrero couldn't do, and that's actually stop him and drop him and actually stop him. So, I mean, most people may have not appreciate the fight because it was slow paced, and I know, in an atmosphere where there's, a lot of Mexicans, Mexicans don't really want to see that type of fighting, but I actually thought it was a wonderful fight, and I thought it was a perfect fight to showcase Pastol. And because I mean, I saw his other fights with Hank Lundy and Demarcus Cole. I saw those fights, and I was really impressed. And then like I said, the knockout was just the icing on the cake. It was a beautiful knockout. So probably after that point, Postol was most likely because it was probably going to be um, somebody's mandatory for a title very soon. As for Aiden, like I mean, I guess what you do is you probably have to go back to the drawing board. I mean, he was riding a 3 fight winning streak and everything, and then he gets brutally knocked out. So um, I guess I mean most likely I mean for me Aiden will probably just most likely turn out to be a gatekeeper of some sort at 140. Yeah, like I said, because I think his boxing is just not it's not the strongest I've seen. I mean, he has power, but just the way he boxes, I just don't see him actually bothering any of the elite fighters in that division. He may give him a little work. He may make the work for the win, but I just don't see him bothering all too much. Now, time for the main event. It was Alvarado versus Marquez. Prior to this, I mean, discussing this fight prior to it happening, I was of the mindset that maybe there's two things that was going to happen. Either A, Marquez age would come into play finally, would really start coming into play, and then Alvarado will, you know, would pretty much like beat him up over 12 rounds, or B, we have Mike, um, the wars because the wars that the consecutive wars that Mike's had, I think it's like 6 fights in a row where he's been in wars, will catch up to him, and and he'd probably be food for Marquez, and again outboxed or possibly stopped. Well, I mean, well, I have to say this fight was more of a letdown to me, not but mostly with Mike because Mike, for whatever reason, thought he could actually outbox Marquez in the early rounds. And Mike's boxing is not the strongest. Like it's serviceable. Like I know usually Mike starts boxing when either A, he's taking too much punishment, or or he's really hurt and trying to avoid a knockout. That's the only time. Most of the time he wades in, he throws uppercuts, he throws the hard shots on the inside. But for some reason he wanted for some reason he actually kept his distance with Marquez. You know, and he didn't have the hands, and he didn't have even have the hand speed to deal with it. So Marquez was just picking him off. So pretty much that was like that was pretty much the whole story of the fight in the first half. It was just Mike following him around, keeping his distance, and Marquez picking up counter shots. It picked up in the second half of the fight, culminating with in the 8th round, I believe. Marquez lands a counter right that sends Mike nearly out of the ring in spectacular fashion. And then in the next round, Mike comes out and then drops Marquez. And you're thinking, oh my God, this fight's about to warm up. And it didn't warm up. It was, I mean, there were moments where they were trading, and then Mike started getting a little busted up, but nothing to the point where you say, okay, something's going to happen, something's going to build up to something. The 12th round should have been the climax round because it was clear at that particular point that Mike needed a knockout to win, and I just didn't know. He just pretty much he went in the tank in that round, and just allowed Marcus just to take that round too, and he was in a position. Although in the 11th round, I know there was a point where I thought a knockdown occurred where Alvarado managed to knock Marquez down, but Marquez managed to stay on his feet, not touch the canvas, which is a feat in itself. So yeah, it was basically like that. I mean, Marquez cruised to a very, a very clear decision, and most likely we are getting Manny Pacquiao Marquez 5. Wasn't I wasn't hope I, That's why I was hoping more or less Alvarado would win because I didn't want to see a 5th fight between them. But Marquez was, I mean, not Marquez, excuse me. Alvarado was frustrating to watch because A, he wasn't listening to his corner, and nothing too that was annoying the hell out of me was he was switching his stances. Now it was so because the way usually when you switch your stances, it shouldn't be so damn obvious. And if it's not so obvious, and if you're making it obvious, at least do something. Have a strategy. I mean, don't keep flipping, flopping forth. I mean, so what do you? I mean, it's like, what are you trying to do? You go to southpaw. What are you gonna do? You just gotta keep him off. I mean, he's still the only thing that was doing was still making it more obvious for Marquez to still land his damn left hand, you know. But I mean not the left hand, right hand. Excuse me. So it was just really frustrating to just not to watch Mike just be gun shy, not listen to his corner, all those little things in there. My thing with Mike at this particular point is I would say retirement is close by. He should really start thinking about his career. But more or less, just to see where he really is, they probably need to give him a soft touch. I mean, I'm thinking all those wars, they're starting to take hold. Not like in the way where he's slurring his speech, not like a Brandon Rios type situation where I'm shocked that Rios can actually pass the neurology exam. But I'm just thinking his body's just getting worn. His body is just getting worn out for the level of competition he's been fighting. So it'll probably be just to gauge where he is, just to give him a couple soft touches, before they throw him in against the likes of Rios, um, where I'm pretty sure they're gonna go in there and they're gonna bash each other's brains out and send each other, even more, even more past it. Um, but at least, like I said, he gave a clear interview. He gave Marquez his props. It is what it is, I guess. Um, overall, that fight, it was a good fight, but I expected more simply because of the tendencies I know of Marquez to brawl and Alvarado to brawl. So yeah, we'll see where they go after that. And then after that, they had the face off with Cotto Martinez. Now that, to me, now it was refreshing to watch because there's one thing that I like to see in a big fight is fighters who actually have a genuine dislike of each other and who can't, because it makes things more personal in the ring when they get in there. They know that they're not bullshitting. They're really trying to win the fight, you know, by any legal means necessary, you know. So that may be even more anticipated than ever. Hopefully, I could actually be in the house for that fight, God willing. So that's pretty much about it. Just brief thoughts. Yep. Until next time. All right. Peace.